You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Welcome to another episode of the Battered MLS Fans. My name is Chris, and alongside me, I got a couple other people that we're going to be talking a little bit of the MLS on the East Coast side of things. We just had a game wrap up earlier tonight. But before we go ahead and get started on talking the East Coast and what's going on in the MLS side of that, we're going to go ahead and go around here. I guess we'll start from my left to your right. Yusuf, what's going on, brother?
What's good, everybody? What's good, Chris? Been a minute since Jonathan was on last time, right?
Yeah.
That's
He
what's
was.
up. That's what's up.
Yeah, man. Super cool people. Much appreciated, Yusuf, for jumping on here. And then we got Tyler. What's going on, Tyler?
What's going on, guys? You doing all right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And then last but not least, Mark Fishkin. What's going on, brother? It's been a while, huh?
It has been a while. It's a big night for Red Bull fans tonight, and thanks for having me to come talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to get started talking the Inter Miami game because that was the first game that was played by, on the East Coast. But I think it's only fair to get started talking Red Bulls and Columbus. I mean, the game just finished. It's fresh, right? The Red Bulls won tonight against Columbus Crew. A big shocker to a lot of people. I mean, what were your expectations, Mark, in terms of like what was coming up in the game?
Yeah, man. I mean, this was a playoff matchup that literally zero pundits across the league had New York with a chance in hell against the holding MLS Cup and Leagues Cup champ, right? And Columbus scored 72 goals during the regular season, and New York went down to Columbus on decision day at Red Bull Arena in a match that really didn't mean a whole lot to either team. But you have to give a ton of credit to Sandro Schwartz. He mixed up his lineup, played a 3-4-1-2 with Forsberg at the 10, and played most of his players behind the ball throughout the entire match. In the post-game presser, he said, we just had to sync up our pressing and make sure that we defended. We defended as a team. And New York was able to make it go, put it together. They nicked a goal off a corner kick and made it stand up. Lewis Morgan ran his butt off all night long. Could have put New York up to a couple of times, but they're in a great place to extend their season Sunday at Red Bull Arena. And the best news for Red Bull fans is New York can't be eliminated on Sunday. So they're going to the arena, and it's not going to be New York's last match of the season, which I think everyone will appreciate. So I think that the win is absolutely energized Red Bull fans. I'm hoping for a great turnout on Sunday. And as Schwartz said earlier tonight, after the match, we had to do this 2 times. We've done it 1 time. We know we're not done yet, but a huge upset that really should send shockwaves around the league.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, like I said in the beginning, that it wasn't expected, and but at the same time, I think a lot of people have to put at least some respect on the Red Bulls, especially since they are a very annoying team and they're pretty problematic. I mean, look, there's already people saying bye. Yeah, I mean, look, but in a way, that's kind of like a positive nod, no, in terms of like having that sort of reputation. Alex Barrowcall is saying bye Columbus. I mean,
no.
It's a little hyperbole, but I mean, it's wild to think that you guys are going to have a game 2, right?
We're going to have a game home. 3, yeah. After that, if we can't get the job done.
If you can't get the job done, but I mean, you guys have basically all the cards are on your table at this point to be able to sort of flip this on Columbus. I mean, it's not something that is expected, but like you said, as a fan, at least it feels good to be able to have that power. No,
for sure. I mean, I'd much rather be the Red Bulls than Columbus going into Sunday's match. This was the Red Bulls' first ever playoff victory in Columbus. And these teams have been playing each other since 1996. So it's a really big deal. New York, I mean, they're getting the IV fluids right now, right? I mean, they are, again, Lewis Morgan, who just ran for the entire game, Forsberg as well. And say what you want against Nancy. He's a master tactician, but he got out coached tonight, and his players got outplayed tonight. And you can be upset about the quote unquote annoying style of New York. New York changed its style tonight, and were incredibly effective. Columbus had a few chances to equalize through the game. Carlos Coronel stood on his head. His first shutout, I think, since August or something like that. New York's only second win since July 21st. Yeah. And now they have a chance to close it out at home. Again, a result that literally nobody. We were looking for, who could someone pick the Red Bulls just so it would make sense. And not a single person I found in the national or local press was picking New York, including myself. I just couldn't see it. So a great night tonight for New York. But again, it's not done. New York has gone out in the first round of the playoffs the last 5 years, and it would be great to get to a conference semi.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that for sure. Look, the expectations are very different than what sort of transpired today, but I feel like there's enough, I guess, respect to be seen that the Red Bulls are not a team that you can just throw away and anticipate that things are going to be a cakewalk. Let's head over to the other side of town, and I guess we'll get to you, Yusuf. I mean, you guys just had a game recently where Cincinnati played against NYCFC, and if this was at Cincinnati. Cincinnati won 1-0. What was your expectation in terms of coming up to the game?
So Cincinnati, you have to fear them just a little bit. You can't go in there thinking, oh, they have a weird home record for their talent. Like they actually lose more often. I'm not saying more often, but they lose more than what people would assume at home, or at least draw. They have weird results, and we play them so often this year. I think we played them like 4 or 5 times already through League Cup and just the league. Yeah, that it just feels like we just always were in Cincinnati half the year, so it feels familiar. So I was going in at least the players are well aware of the team. They know each other. They know what they're going to bring. It's just going to be one of those type of matches. We did not come prepared at all. Man, Cushing just decided he wants to go all defensive and worry too much about Lucho Acosta. Yeah. So he sat Maxi down, and from the moment the lineup came out, everybody was just like, this is not what we've been gelling with prior to this. Like little hot streak run that we had was not with this lineup. We need to be on the front foot, and we weren't. It took us. Actually, I wouldn't even say it took us the whole half. It took us the entire game just to actually kind of like maybe put some chances on, because the first half was just bad, and then Cincinnati in the second half said, "Oh, this is how they're going to play. Let's go at them," and that's how the second half started. We looked lost half the time. There's no creativity in the midfield. It was interesting going into especially how we ended the season. Going into this match, I thought we would be a little bit more competitive or have a little bit more edge to it, especially because like the city itself is like on a sports high right now, kind of, or at least everybody's just like locked in with sports wise. Like I figured something would have rubbed off, and it just looked bad.
Well, look, I mean,
you guys got outshot something like 22-5. I mean,
dude, at a point,
it was
I didn't know that we
not
could
competitive.
play on the other half of the pitch. That's how it felt. Like we just didn't know how to shoot. Santi, look, I'm gonna big up my team every day of the week. Santi is probably, if not our best player, top 2 player in our team. But he has this one thing where it's just he loves the extra touch. He doesn't look up for the pass. He just always loves that one extra touch that gets him off rhythm or misses his runner. So you can almost set, like if you had a money line or something on FanDuel of extra touches for Santi, the over would definitely be like 7 per match. And it happens every single time. And it happened here where you see him play develop and he just takes 1 touch, 2 touches, and it just kind of breaks apart. bad passes. Just
Well,
nobody was sharp.
now, to me, I mean, look, I look at the scoreline and I see 1-0 against a competitive Cincinnati. I don't think that leaves a lot of room to be able to say, well, they dominated or anything like that. I would imagine that it seems like
it's deceitful. That scored.
it is.
Like they could have had maybe, I want to say 3 or 4 by the
Yeah.
end of it. There was one crazy miss off the post, like nice little curler. It was
Yeah.
there was there was a point there where I was we had it was we're at the bar, right? We had NYC was on most TVs. Then the Yankee game started trickling in. At a point, we're kind of just like dealing with everything at the same time, and we kept our eyes just kept veering off a little bit, just because we're like they're not in it. And
Yeah.
that's where I'll take the L, because like I said, we go back home, and with our record at home,
Restructure. Yeah.
where we will have, it is what it is. We
Yeah.
take it. It's an advantage.
Yeah.
But that means we have a third game where it's a do or die. It's a one-off, and then we have the advantage now, right? So we'll come and take that, but at least show that you want to win this one. Because if you
Yeah.
can sneak this one out, it makes the second one just that much easier. You don't have to play a third game. You can get that rest that you may need for Maxi, who is still, unfortunately, one of the most important players that we have in our team. Without the way we go, the way Maxi goes, and that's what really held us just to be so just dull on the ball. Was
Yeah.
Maxi wasn't there to dictate how it went. No Pat. You rely on Santi to be creative, you're gonna run into a lot of dead ends, because he's great with what he does,
Yeah.
but he's not a Maxi, and we still need that replacement.
And Mark, just to kind of go back to you in terms of the game, Cincinnati versus NYCFC, is there anything that maybe you had thoughts on in terms of the game? Did you watch any of it? See what you thought about that matchup and the game itself? Mark, you there? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, say it again. I'm having a little connectivity challenges. Tell me a little bit.
No,
of your
not a
again,
problem.
Please.
No,
Chris?
I was just wondering, just in terms of the game, Cincinnati versus NYCFC, if maybe what your thoughts were on the game in terms. I mean, you mentioned that the discrepancy in shots on target was 22-6. You were just one off on NYCFC side, but that's still a hell of a discrepancy.
So that just tells you
I
how
think you're asking me about the Cincinnati NYC game again. I'm having a real hard time keeping you your sound going. But yeah, listen, Cincinnati has had the benefit of not necessarily being the favorite this year, right? Yeah. They are definitely an echelon below the Miamis, the LAFCs, the Columbuses, and the Galaxies this year. And so I think that lack of pressure has been a positive thing for them.
Yeah.
And it's really allowed kind of focused game. Lucia Costa is a talented guy, and I think he absolutely is a talisman for them. Roman Celentano is a fantastic young goalkeeper that should be seeing time with the U.S. men's national team as he continues to mature. Players like Nwobodo are really, really talented. It'll be interesting to see how they do in a game 2. If it gets back to Cincinnati for game 3, I have no doubt that they're gonna cover. I mean, City and Red Bulls both kind of had disappointing regular seasons this year. I don't think either of them have a ton of momentum, except for New York's win earlier tonight at Columbus. So you got to kind of make your own good feeling. You got to make your momentum. It wouldn't surprise me if Cincinnati closes this out on the weekend at Citi Field. And for the commenter earlier today, I'm all Mets all day. So unfortunately, Yusuf and I don't even have that we can share.
No. I go down the line. Is Knicks, Yankees, NYC, Giants.
Nice. Now, Tyler, just to get your perspective on those two matchups, right? Before we get to the Inter Miami and Atlanta, and then we'll talk about Orlando against Charlotte in a little bit. But you were watching these matchups. I mean, I don't know if you were able to watch the game tonight with the Red Bulls, eking out the win. What did you think of the game? Did you have any sort of expectations as well?
I mean, expectations. Yeah, I thought Columbus was going to walk all over Red Bulls. Just because that's Columbus, right? That's what they do, and I don't think that's a crazy thing to believe. But Red Bulls, I thought this was like the stereotypical put your big boy pants on and go and defend for your life. The fact that Red Bulls had 22% possession cracks me up. 22% possession, and you're clinical in that one moment that you need it to be, and then you hold them for dear life, and that's what matters in the playoffs, right? Like, it doesn't matter what this is not aggregate. You just have to win the game and take it to the next leg, and they did what they had to do. And I'm all for some chaos when it's not involving Atlanta. So this was one of those. I'm like, all right, I'm okay if Columbus gets knocked out. I don't believe it's going to happen. But if somehow Red Bulls squeak it out, man, I'm here for it. I'm here to watch all the craziness go down. But, hey, I mean, at the end of the day, they did what they had to.
And as far as the matchup with Cincinnati against NYCFC, and I don't know if you had spoken, to Danny in terms of what was expected, who you thought was going to be, I guess, the winner in that series. Did you get a chance to watch that game where Cincinnati sort of eked out that 1-0 win?
Yeah, we actually did that one. We did a watch along over on our channel for that one last night. And,
that's right. Yes, you did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, I got to say, I actually thought New York in the first half, I actually thought it was more of an even match. I really did. Yeah. I thought since he ended the half with, the better opportunities slightly, but I don't think it was like just kind of in favor of one or the other, because New York had chances. They just were very, very unclinical when they had them.
So add that as the byline for our season.
Hey man, dude, you're talking to an Atlanta United fan in 2024, dude. I trust me, I get it.
That expected goals stat line that I hate so much is like
it's so
ridiculous.
Deceiving.
Every single game, it's like 3. Our expected goal is always higher than the winning team.
Yeah, and but then that's the biggest thing is second half changes are made, and that's where you get into the coaching kind of chess moves. And I thought, though it wasn't anything like super drastic, I thought Cincy adjusted the way they needed to, and it didn't really seem like New York did, and that was really what it came down to. But I mean, you lost 1-0. If I'm New York, I actually had New York pegged to win that one just because they're in better form. Cincy's not been in good form coming out of the season.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you can take it back home, make it 1-1, and then come back, fix what you didn't do right the first time around, and maybe squeak it out too.
There's only one problem there, though. Now, we have our better defender right back is no longer there.
That red card, I don't know, man. That was not. We were doing the watch along, and I was like, man, like I get it, maybe by the rules, but it's the end of the game. You're well past stoppage time at this point. Like, there's contact, yes, I'll give you that, but man, Lucho played it up so hard. Oh, I was not a big fan of it.
Yeah, but you got to know that that's Lucho's game, and you've got to know in the 98th minute you don't touch him, and you got to know that the gamesmanship is afoot. And Tavon Gray is a talented kid, but he's super young, and he really hurt his team on a play that did not matter in terms of the game result at all. And unfortunately for City, it'll really come back to hurt them, because that's just the type of play that you cannot make in the playoffs when the margin of error is literally 0.
Elenis he's not as good as a defender as Tavon is, nor near close sometimes actually when he plays. And so we're lacking there.
Yeah.
And we don't have that. After that, we don't have any depth.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a short playoff stay for City especially after that event.
I think I was more upset at the ref really than anything, because again, I don't have a dog in this fight. I was watching it as a neutral, but I mean, you're so far into stoppage time. you're affecting the playoffs in a negative. Like, it's not like it was a super obvious red card. Like, he didn't come in studs up on the guy. I mean, he kind of caught him in the chin.
Also caught him earlier. That was the retaliation.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just like, dude, all right, give the yellow. Fine, give the yellow, but don't alter the second leg by throwing out a red. I'm not a big fan of that. Like, let him play and be done with it.
See, like, now I want to win, mainly because I do want to get a derby in the playoffs. We haven't had one.
No.
And I feel like for both teams, that would just
be nice.
A dope, just a spectacle of the sport.
Although there's been a really nice rivalry built since 2017 with Cincinnati among Red Bull fans, that goes back to that epic USL Cincinnati Open Cup run that New York ended them in overtime in the Cup semis in a fantastic atmosphere in Cincy's old stadium at the University of Cincinnati. The teams have met a number of times in the playoffs the last 2 years, and so while I agree that someday a Hudson Derby in the playoffs would be phenomenal for New York, if, and again, they're only halfway there, as Jovi says, but they can absolutely get excited about either playoff opponent. So we'll see.
And you guys, I think the thing with you guys is what makes you guys annoying is, and it's not, mind it's like a backhand.
I think it's a good tag, man. I think it's a good tag.
What makes you guys, it's the Rebels when they're up for it, they'll do the, like, whatever it is to just get the ball in the net. Like, you have to play up to their aggression, and even though they'll give up possession like that, they're nagging at you the entire time.
Yep.
And it's just they'll get under your skin, and you lose your game. And then when you lose your game, that's when they come in and
capitalize.
They capitalize. Next thing you know, you hear freaking Bulls on parade. So it's like, that's the annoying part. It's like they have a game plan, and I don't know if it's over time it's changed, but I feel like that's been the consistent thing of you guys. It's like, it doesn't matter which generation of Rebel teams, they have this identity of, we're just gonna start biting and like get ourselves out of a corner, which
absolutely
I would see as a neutral. He dropped off. I would see as a neutral that would be like something fun, but as person like me, as someone who almost despises them, it's annoying. It's annoying, but
well, and in the 5-1 Derby win that City had at Red Bull Arena, right? It was City changing their play to really match New York's aggressiveness in that game,
and that's what we've been asking forever.
Okay, well, no Patrick Vieira playing out of the back while losing at home, as goals 5, 6, and 7 go in the net for sure. But I mean, since Forsberg has returned for New York, and he missed the second half of basically the second half of the season, which coincided with New York really playing some very uninspired soccer. His return, as you saw tonight, has really invigorated them. And if you're talking about where'd I go there? If you're talking about a U-shaped curve where they started great, kind of took the summer off, and now we're starting to pick it up. I mean, this is what the game is, right? This is what teams like the Seattle Sounders perfected in the last decade, is taking the summer off and then putting it together late in the fall as the temperature's dropping and rolling right through the playoffs. So we shall.
Zombie Sounders is a real thing.
Yes, it absolutely is.
So let's jump over to the game that happened a couple days ago on Sunday, where we had Orlando City win up against Charlotte FC 2-0. Now, I mean, of course, when it comes to the matchup between Atlanta and Inter Miami, we would be the team that would be facing the winner of this series. And to be honest, I don't want to see Charlotte at all, because they're an annoying matchup. They're one of the better, if not one of the top 3 defensive teams in the league. Tyler, just to get your perspective on that matchup, because you were probably watching it a little bit more closely, what did you think of that game between Orlando City and Charlotte?
I thought Charlotte got too emotional. I think Orlando They came in, they poked, they prodded, they annoyed Charlotte a little bit because Charlotte, like you said, they're an annoying team because they're so defensively stout for the most part, and you have a goalkeeper that has won them games essentially this year. I hate them. I hate them. I also hate Orlando.
Like good old fashioned hate.
Yeah. But no, I mean, you're down in their house, and they had something, to be fair, and to throw Atlanta into it. Orlando wanted to bounce back after decision day. Atlanta went to Orlando and snuck out a win that happened to get them in the playoffs. Orlando wasn't going to let something like that go twice. And Facundo Torres is one of those guys that,
he's a problem.
I think he flies under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, he's really good.
But how
really,
though?
really
Like
strong.
how? In this league, how is like how?
Right.
With you on that one. Like in this league, how is it that Facundo Torres is almost like never really spoken in the same breath as other
because it's Orlando? I don't know.
Crazy.
Well, I mean, if
Orlando,
you really think about it,
is a sneaky team, man.
Yes,
like they're a sneaky team this year. Like, but that has them playing in a way that's like you. I want to say I'm not going to say inspired because they kind of always play a little bit inspired, especially to their fans. But they're good. Like they're not a bad team, and they
were sneaky last year too, and they were the best last year. They were the best team coming out of the Leagues Cup. They had the most points in that run into the playoffs, and then they just died off. But they're a solid team. I got to give them credit. And as an Atlanta fan saying that about Orlando, like it's got to mean something.
Oh, we hate them too, man. They're that like came in the same year type of weird rivalry, and then we also have a little off stadium excursions with some of them. So it's like we hate them, but man, that you have to admit on the pitch they're fun to watch. Like you watch them on them, like they're fun to. You know what my tinfoil for them is Nico being there has sort of just allowed he's maybe taken on a little bit more of a teacher role into the team and inspired. He's gotten the trophy that no other team really here has gotten in his league. So he holds weight in that locker room, and I think he's been able to just allow that mentality of like just go for it, play a little bit more free in the way that he used to play when he was in Seattle.
And also a lot of the people that really a lot of the pundits in the beginning of the season were sort of tracking Orlando to be like a top 3 team in the East.
Yes.
I mean, Mark, I don't know if I'm wrong for saying this, but the team is stacked. They have solid players. Like there's no schleps on this team, right?
No, they're a really, really talented team. And again, early in the year, New York handled them quite well when they were playing in the first part of the season where they jumped out. New York went 8-3-5 in the first half of the season. And they were kind of, I think, blowing everyone's hair back. And they did handle Orlando, which at the time was kind of a talisman win for New York to say, look, this team's supposed to be really terrific. The long stretch of the MLS season, I think, really does an amazing job allowing teams to heat up and cool off and heat up again and cool off again. And as we talked about a few minutes ago, it's just about getting hot at the right time. They've always had the talent to make a real run. I don't think they necessarily have the iconic player, while Torres is clearly talented, to kind of put the team on his back. The way a Maxi Morales might, the way, obviously Miami might, the way Ricky Puig might be for LA Galaxy, or Buanga for LAFC. But they're a good, talented team. El Pulpo in goal is always a challenge to beat. And even though, I think the popularity of that team in that market kind of waxes and wanes. I think they've kind of seen it all there, but I think they have an Open Cup to their title. I think they do in their trophy case recently, a couple of years ago.
Last year, the year before.
So I think.
No, you were going to say something, Mark. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think, listen, I think they're definitely a better team than Charlotte. They're a more entertaining team than Charlotte. Absolutely. I mean, Dean Smith has pulled out the Gary Smith, old school Colorado, Nashville, pack the back, get runners that can fly and hopefully convert on a counter. And I mean, I guess it works for them. It'll be interesting to see what Orlando can do on the fake field in Charlotte. That always gives New York fits when they have to play there. It's a dreadful playing surface because David Tepper is a terrible human being and a terrible owner. And so I honestly, it'll be curious to see if Orlando can get the job done this weekend.
Well, at the first 18 games of Orlando, I was just looking at it. They won 4 games and had a slew of losses and ties. I mean, after that is when they really hit it, right? After the 18th game, they had, I mean, I think I see here, they had about, They had about 11 games won. The last remaining games, they won 11. They went 11-2-2 or 11.
They were one of the hottest teams in the league.
Yeah.
Like, they figured it out, and then it's just on the quiet. Like, they were just quiet because you guys, I'm not saying this in a bad way because it was just going to happen, but you guys obviously, like, you have a lot of the attention from teams in the East, so no one was paying attention to Orlando, and it was just like they were just winning, and I mean, you see it, saw them creep up the table, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I'm curious though, who did they beat going down the stretch? Because as we know, there are a lot of crappy teams in the East. So I'm just kind of curious, who are the main scalps they grabbed late in the season?
So late in the season, they beat Toronto, right? Bottom of the barrel.
I mean,
DC.
The 4 of us could beat Toronto, I think.
Yeah. DC, New England, Nashville.
Yeah.
So far they're picking
everyone
up scraps,
below the line.
Right?
Yeah,
everyone below the line. Then they beat Nashville again at home, New England again, Charlotte, right? I guess you can consider them top tier, I guess, or whatever.
Above the table, above the line.
Yeah, Dallas, Philly, and Cincinnati to close it out.
So they feasted on a positive schedule at the end of the year to get them where they had to go. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, winning breeds winning, right?
Yes.
So you get on a roll, even if it's against crappy teams, you're going to be in a good place.
And at that point, they're just beating everybody around them, so they're just jumping.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, just like you mentioned, Yusuf. I mean, they jumped at that point. They beat DC. They're trying to jump them. They beat Charlotte. They jumped them. Right, you have Philly towards the end, they jumped them, and out Cincinnati, they weren't going to reach them at this point unless they won against Atlanta in the last game. But Atlanta ended up winning 2-1 in the last game of the regular season on decision day. So there's that, and that actually helped Atlanta to be able to sort of get into that last game of getting into the playoffs. And here we are, Inter Miami against Atlanta. And Tyler, I had the pleasure of being able to meet you over at Chase Stadium. Super cool, and I appreciate it. That was really awesome. Now, from your perspective, right? I know you were up in the press box. What was your sort of perspective in watching the game? Because I was heckling your goalie all game.
I bet you were.
The first half, yeah.
Thankfully, you were mostly ineffective, but it ended up not mattering. That dude stood on his head, but Brad Guzan, he's done it this year. That man is having like one of his best seasons ever. No, I mean, in a lot of ways, I think this was one of the stadiums, because I was in Orlando for decision day for that match as well, and I'd been there last year. I was kind of happy that Chase Stadium doesn't have a massive press box, so I ended up out in the stands.
Yes, yeah.
Which, whatever. A little difficult to wield a laptop out there. But I enjoy being part of the environment. I like being able to be out and hear things. I don't like being in an enclosed space where you can't really hear like what it's all about. Thought the atmosphere was awesome. I enjoyed it. I was a little sick to my stomach. I think it was 6 minutes into the match, Atlanta hadn't progressed the ball into Miami's final third or defensive third.
Yikes.
So I was like, man, this is not going to end well. They grew into it a little bit. You go into the half, it's a game. But, I mean, Brad Guzan standing back there like the like that Lord of the Rings meme where he's pulling out the sword and the whole army's running at him. Like that's what it felt like. Yeah. And it was frustrating, but not excuses. Atlanta had 3 games in 6 days or 7 days, whatever it was. And we've beat this dead horse on our show. Like, I don't care if it's Atlanta or whoever. Like that scheduling is a little ridiculous. It's unsafe for players. We had a center back that went down, probably most likely due to that kind of congestion, But I don't know. I mean, but it was fun to be there. Fun to see the atmosphere. Like I said, that was my first time down there, so it was awesome. It was good to meet you and your son.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was a pleasure, dude. And I mean, look, from the perspective of watching the game, I mean, the moment that Luis Suarez scored the goal in the first 2 minutes, I thought that's not a good look. Yeah. I mean, taking the hit that early, that's going to be super deflating. I mean, you guys ended up returning another hit later on in the end of the half, where Saba ended up scoring a goal and sort of exposing our defense. But then later on, Jordi Alba just gets a slammer from outside of the box and then just sort of puts the dagger in. Let me go to you, Yusuf. Were you watching the game by any chance? Did you have any sort of perspective?
No, I was keeping up with it. It was,
yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. It's hard to say that like you give Atlanta a chance as a neutral because it's just like you should have heard my crazy hot take at the beginning of the season with these guys. I said that Miami was never gonna make it. Said they were gonna not make the playoffs. I was like, nah.
You stuck to your guns though. You said
I did. I did. I got flamed in the comments, which is cool, but it's like I did, but I said that just like wishful thinking. You guys are what you guys are with the squad that you guys have. I don't know. I feel like Atlanta, like you said, like you guys kind of because you guys squeezed in, you have this sort of like, let's just go out there and try. Yeah. And since Guzan has been holding you guys down, but it's just, how do you stop a scoring machine like Miami?
Yeah.
Or at least not. I want to call it a scoring machine, but the talent you guys have, you should be able to just do what you guys do, and that's why sometimes I'll watch your matches, like mostly like just following it along with the notifications because it's like I'm just expecting you guys to just be like that score line to just at least have 4 names on it at this point.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And Mark, what was your perspective on watching the game? How'd you sort of receive everything in terms of like the 2-1 win against Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, I think Atlanta had a chance to show its quality, and Atlanta is a quality side. But Tyler, to your point about having to play a whole bunch of games in quick succession, when you finish 8th or 9th, that's the penalty, right? And there really should be a challenge. No, if you're playing in the wild card game, it's because you're not good enough to get the week off, and you're settling to try and squeak in. And nobody obviously wants to see players get hurt, but like I support the idea of having a bit of hardship to a team that barely scraped by to make the playoffs and got one of the 2 last playoff spots. I think I'm not expecting Atlanta to advance in this series. I think anyone would be hard done to pick against Miami in any playoff situation, perhaps save an Eastern final against Columbus or an MLS Cup against LA Galaxy or LAFC. I think they are the Shield winners, the best regular season in MLS history. And, they had a better record with when Messi wasn't there than when when he was playing. So, I mean, it's theirs to lose. And even coming up 1 goal short against them in Miami, I think is a huge accomplishment for any team. And, the only saving grace for Atlanta is that it's not a 1-game series and that they'll have a chance to go home and play on their turf and maybe make things difficult there. Tyler, what was the result in Atlanta? Did you guys, you guys are laughing. I don't remember. So
no, it was.
What did the turf line that you did? That was nice. I gotta give you credit for that.
Yeah, with the turf, I like that. That was good. here it was. So that was kind of what I was going to say. Here in Atlanta, it was 2-2, and it was one of those games where Atlanta kind of played their bipolar soccer. Like they should have played way better than they did, and they ended up making a game of it in the very final minutes, and ended up being a draw 2-2. But they were knocking on the door for that third one. But then you go back earlier in the season and they went down to Fort Lauderdale and won 3-1. When Messi started, like the whole squad was there, and it was just like this weirdo game. Wow. And Atlanta's been kind of that rough team for Miami this year. Even going back to the end of last season. So I think the team, and even talking to like Brad Guzan and the guys after that match, like they're kind of holding on to that. They're kind of holding on to the fact that like you've had success against this team, like you've done it before. You weren't far from doing it, this past match. But yeah, I mean, you're playing with house money. Atlanta's playing with house money. You're doing everything you can at this point. You have, to your point, like that's what happens when you're the wild card. You're playing tons of games. The only thing I'll say is give these teams, again, I don't care that it's Atlanta, give these teams an extra day or two. Make it hard for the wild card guys. 100%. I totally agree. But that's the soapbox I don't need to get back on.
Well, when the playoffs get interrupted by an international window, as they will after round one for 10 days, they don't unfortunately have the time for it, which is ridiculous, of course.
That's all. Yeah, I think we need to do a podcast just on that.
You could go off for hours on.
Yeah, it'll be four guys saying this is wrong.
Yeah,
yeah,
this is stupid.
All right, so Tyler, would you say how did you guys end the Miami game? Like, as in like form-wise, like, were you felt like you were still in it, or it was more of just like we're just cruising now for the next one?
No, I mean they pushed all the way to the end, but it was ineffective. I think Sean Silva had one shot near the end of the match that had everybody kind of do one of those moments, where it was like, oh, that could have been the equalizer. Mm-hmm. But just not creating tons of chances, the ball coming the other way. Brad's doing whatever he can to keep it out of the back of the net. So I wouldn't say that they had the momentum at all, but I wouldn't say that they didn't have chances either. I mean, there was and I'll say exactly what Brad Guzan said, because I asked him, on another day, they could have got that equalizer at any second, and then you're going to penalties, but it just didn't happen.
Gotcha.
All right, well, let's go ahead and we'll get to the game twos here, and let's get to the earliest game. I guess we got this coming Friday. A quick turnaround for Charlotte and Orlando City. They just played on Sunday, and now they're coming up on a Friday game at 7:30 p.m. We got Charlotte and we got Orlando, and they're going to be playing over in Charlotte this time. Let's go around the table just real quickly. Yusuf, what do you expect the outcome's going to be for game two?
You want me to go down all of them, or
we'll go Orlando, Charlotte.
I think Orlando takes it. But I think actually they take it, but in penalties.
Yeah. Ooh.
1-1.
Okay.
Just because Charlotte, you have to be up for it. If you're game two, or just on the vibe tip, like it's game two, it's go win or go home. You have to be up for it. I'll give you one against Orlando. Pulpo is as great as he is. Last couple of years, we kind of just been seeing him on the, I won't call it tank, like on the downturn, but he's had a couple, so you never know. But I still think Orlando takes it, because then if it goes to penalties, then you got to give it to Pulpo. So that's one thing. I think still Orlando takes it.
What do you think, Mark? You think it's going to finish off with Orlando, game two, and then it's a wrap, or you think that Charlotte could give them a run for their money?
I also see this going to penalties, and we haven't talked about Kalina for Charlotte, who I think is one of the better goalkeepers in the league, and I can see him in a penalty shootout, maybe outlasting Galese. So maybe I'll give this Charlotte in penalties and extending to a game 3.
No doubt.
Okay, all right. And then what about you, Tyler? What do you think is going to be the outcome for that?
I think Charlotte wins it. Low scoring, probably like a 2-1 in regulation. If it goes to penalties, I agree with both of y'all's points, and it's kind of tough, really, because like I said before, Kalina's been that guy that's just really obnoxious. But
yeah,
Pedro, he's that guy, right? They call him El Popo for a reason. This is recency bias, but having watched them on decision day and he blocked one of Atlanta's penalties, it would have made it 3-1. I would edge it out to Orlando, but I think Charlotte wins it in regulation.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go the same. I think that Charlotte's actually gonna end it winning game 2, and I think it's gonna go 3 games over to Orlando. And I guess I'll just finish it off. I think that Orlando's probably gonna take that, and it's gonna end up being inside of Florida sort of rivalry, Miami versus Orlando. But I guess we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's get to the next game. Let's go ahead and wrap up the Red Bulls. They're going to be playing up against Columbus on Sunday, and this is a 4:30 start, which, by the way, I just want to kind of go over something. I think that the scheduling for Saturday is fabulous because they got a 5 o'clock game, a 7 o'clock game, and a 9 o'clock game. But then to compete with the NFL on Sunday, 4:30, 6:30, and 8:45, I think is absolutely awful. I mean, it sucks.
I mean, if you're worried about competing against the NFL, you're not playing on Sunday at all, and they can afford to do that. So, and it's not like FS1 is going to have any programming of note, and I mean,
this is already like tailoring to the diehard fans, anyways. Your whole season has been behind a paywall for the most part. Like, who's watching the playoffs? We're watching the playoffs. It is what it is. Like, just put them on regular time so you can have people in the matches that want to be there.
And college football is happening all day. College football is happening all day Saturday too. So you're not avoiding anything. Like, there's no time to play these games where you're not conflicting with something.
Yeah, that makes sense. So against Red Bulls against Columbus, of course, Mark. Who do you got winning that game?
Yeah, so I had brown hair when I started following this league and this team in 1996, and I've seen this movie so many times. So I'm going to call this Columbus is going to come out and absolutely wipe New York with it and extend to a third game. I just like Sandro Schwartz deliver us, but I don't. They're not going to take too well to losing at home. And I think they're going to come out and punch New York in the mouth. And I see either a 2-1 or a 3-0 victory for Columbus, reminding everyone across the league just who the hell they are.
Nice. Yeah, I could see that too. Tyler, what do you think is going to be outcome of that game there?
I think Columbus, to everybody's point, I think Columbus comes out and takes it. For the same reasons. Look, Red Bulls, they played the game tonight, or they did the job, but I don't think that's sustainable. And Columbus is too good of a team, and Wilfred Nancy is too good of a coach to not adjust and fix it and not let it happen again. So yeah, I think Columbus takes it to game 3, and ultimately I think they take it overall.
And,
and
just
I just told you they were going to get killed, so I'm right there with you.
And then it's just he wants to chime in here. He says everything you said is believable besides the hair comment, Mark.
It's
funny. Well, Yusuf, what do you think is going to be the outcome for that game 2 right
Columbus
there?
Just based on pure hate.
Nice. Okay, yeah. Forget about the other side of the
house. That's just me joking. I think honestly, to Mark's point, is just Columbus too good of a team to just let this happen back to back.
Yeah,
against a team that you can dominate in possession. I can't check right now, but Nagby should be playing, right? So for me, Nagby is a goated player at this point in this league, who I think he's gonna have one of those games where he's just gonna be like dinging balls. Yeah. Like he's just gonna show off essentially. I just for some reason I just feel like he's gonna have one of those, but I think it's just Columbus. I'll give you 3-1.
Okay, I can see that. That's kind.
I don't think honestly, I don't think it's gonna be as a beating as Mark said, I don't think it's going to be that crazy, but it will be more of the just Columbus just showing you who Big Brother is.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. Now, Mark, I know that you got to run, but let me just get these last two predictions with you on game twos. We'll jump over to the Miami-Atlanta game. That's going to be also on Saturday. Who do you think is going to be the victor out there in Atlanta?
Yeah, I think the top seeds are going to carry both of these matches. I think Miami, notwithstanding Tyler's story of Atlanta kind of getting having a lot of success against Miami at home, rather. I think Miami is going to drop the hammer here. And then I think Acosta is going to goad 3 more NYC players into taking swings at them wildly and getting red cards. And Nick Cushing will be on the field as a backup 6 to try and make it go. It's not going to be a pretty picture. Fines all over the place. The team is ejected and has to play in Hartford for 3 more years until their stadium's built. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah. Honestly, we're losing at the point. That sounds like a good time.
Well, before Yusuf and I and Tyler wrap up the show, Mark, let everybody know where they can be able to find your stuff.
Yeah, sure. For 15 seasons, I've been doing the Seeing Red podcast. You can find it on any platform. It's Seeing Red NY on the any video, audio, wherever you get yours. And Chris and guys, thanks for having me and let me chat with you guys. I really appreciate it. But I'm old and I'm going to bed, so
you leave, man.
Be well, everyone.
You heard, Mark? Before you leave, though, just real quick, as an NYCFC fan, everybody that's on this, Mark is one of the OG podcasters in MLS. He's old, literally when it's like,
thanks,
you had to go into a website kind of thing. So respect and shouts for you keep doing it for you this long, because it's like the only people that cover MLS is podcasters.
Yeah, thanks, man. Right? Really appreciate it. Appreciate you all.
All right, Mark.
All right,
thank you so much for joining. Much appreciated. Let's go ahead and all right, later, Mark. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. I'll go ahead and I'll bring on that graphic one more time so we can go ahead and just wrap up the rest of the predictions. I guess, Yusuf, before I get Tyler's prediction on the Miami-Atlanta game, what do you think is going to be the outcome for that game?
Ooh, Miami-Atlanta.
Over in Atlanta.
Man, I just can't see Miami losing. Like, I want you guys to win so bad. Like, so bad, just so my prediction can come true of you not winning the cup. Just so that we have more storylines of why the Shield is not considered the champion. Yeah, I'll go off on that soapbox. But I still say Miami 3-1, just because Messi wants one.
Yeah. I get.
Sorry, guys, my eye is crazy dry right now.
I could get that. Tyler, what do you think is going to be the prediction against Atlanta against Miami over in the ATL?
Hell if I know.
I'm rooting for you, Tyler.
Listen, I mean, you guys, not the, you guys have been the sort of kryptonite to this team this year. And this game that we had this past weekend, it wasn't easy in a sense. So the fact that we're going to be going to Atlanta, playing on turf, it does show a little bit of positivity on your side of the fence.
Yeah, I mean, you get the benefit too. The Benz, they've opened up the top deck, so it'll be the full 70,000, crowd.
Yeah.
Got things going for you if you're Atlanta. You're riding this kind of momentum, regardless of the 2-1 loss. I mean, you snuck into the playoffs on decision day. It was improbable. 10% chance is what they had before opening whistle that night. Mm-hmm. Then you go up to Montreal and you beat Montreal. You beat Joseph, right? You beat Joseph Martinez.
Yeah.
They've got this kind of vibe going on where they feel like it's them versus the world, and it's carrying them to a degree. They weren't upset when they left that night. They were disappointed, but they felt like, all right, let's take it back home and let's get after it. I think it's going to end up being some stupidly chaotic game where I think it's going to be 2-1 the other way around. I think it'll be 2-1 Atlanta. They take it back to Fort Lauderdale.
Oof. I could see that. I could definitely. Listen. I mean, that would make great for at least us home fans, so we can be able to get another playoff game under the belt to be able to see at home. I'm gonna go with Miami taking the win. I think that Messi wants to wrap this up and take his break, because he's one of the two players that's on the team that's going to actually be, out playing on international duty. I actually wonder what the teams are going to do in between that time, if they're going to, scrimmage against some, schmucks or whatever the case is. We'll finish it off.
Miami FC.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, right, Yusuf? I mean, they're going to practice against a couple plumbers and carpenters.
They'll try to, if it's, I hate these FIFA breaks during the calendar.
Yeah, it's awful.
But they'll try to sometimes schedule with a local college.
Yeah,
like somebody they know that they can kind of just get reps on.
Yeah, just to get the keep the legs moving, and then they're not going into the next game cold or anything like that. We'll go to the last game, Cincinnati NYCFC. They're going to be playing on Saturday at the 5:00 matchup.
Yeah.
I'll give my prediction. I think that NYCFC is going to win that game, and I think it's going to be tied going to a third game over to Cincinnati. That's what I think is going to be the outcome. I think that they're going to give Cincinnati a little bit of run for their money. We'll go to your opinion, Tyler. What do you think is going to be the outcome of game 2?
I think New York. I don't know. I struggle to say this. I think New York makes it a series. I think they win. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think it's going to be a freaking ugly game, honestly. Much like the first half of this last match. But I think they pull it out, send it back to Cincy. I think it'll be something probably like another 1-0, just flipped around, kind of like I said with Atlanta and Miami. But I think New York has that. I know home field changes in New York City, but they still have that kind of home field advantage that just it works for City. So,
and what do you think? Well, I mean, Yusuf, you're probably going to give me. I'm hoping you give me that you think they're going to take the dub. No,
I think we do. I think we win, but I think the reason why we win is due to we locked down Lucho Acosta with the field dimensions. We're going to be able to not have, he can't run around without bumping into somebody. So that every time they play here, they don't play up to their normal standards. As you could say, like when we're playing Cincinnati, and for some reason it's always late that they score on us.
Yeah.
But here, especially at City, we have a decent record against them here. So I think at worst, I'm gonna say we go to PKs, but I think we beat them in regulation. And I think but it's gonna be fought. It's gonna be scrappy. I think, like Tyler said, it's just gonna be scrappy. We have to scrap, or else we're not gonna be able to beat them.
And I guess just to wrap it up, just looking at the playoff tree here, who do you think is going to represent the East out of these 8 teams?
Us, because I'm a wishful thinker, and I'm gonna keep believing until we're not in it.
Yeah,
because we've been there, we've done it. It's both. Also, Tyler has done it. I think the only team actually out of the 4 teams that were on this call, only us 2 really have gone all the way. I mean, the favorites are you guys, man. Like it's
yeah.
You got to give it up. It's just favorites are you guys. You can't. You have the difference maker.
Yeah. What do you think, Tyler? Who do you think is going to come out of the East, out of the groups?
Man, I've said it. I can't change it now as much as I want to. I think it's going to be Columbus again.
Yeah,
I really do. But the thing is, dude, it's y'all have 4 of the best players to ever play the game.
Yeah,
it's any given day. Not easy to beat. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Miami. But Columbus, I just feel like is well rounded, and it's just hard to bet against them.
Well, that's the scary thing about it, right? Like, I mean, we have 4 of the greater players in the league, but it's like you just said, it's sort of like that any given Sunday mentality. Like, I mean, we've lost to some teams that we should have flipped on, and who's to say that Columbus doesn't pull out some sort of a glorious, game shattering goal at the end of the game, right? I mean, hopefully that's not going to happen. I don't foresee it happening, but the possibility is definitely there. You were going to say something, Yusuf?
No. I'm just agreeing with you guys. Like we're not necessarily agreeing in a sense of like that Columbus is gonna be, but Columbus is the most well-rounded team I think in this league.
Yeah,
it's like they're a team. Like I consider you guys like you're like Yankees when they decided to go after all the all-stars and put it together. They're a team. They know each other.
Yeah.
They play for each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
My prediction was Galaxy and Columbus, because I feel like the other most well-rounded team in the league is the Galaxy this year. I just think that like the changes they made, they've become a fun team to watch, but they've completely flipped the script from last year. But it's just it's hard to bet against Miami. It really is.
I know.
Well, for those of you interested in the West Coast stuff, there's two things. One, we're going to have the Battered MLS show tomorrow covering the West Coast side of the MLS. And Florida Man over here in the comments section is pointing out RSL missed. Apparently, RSL is with against Minnesota in penalties. So keep that locked in and check that out. Before we go ahead and end the show, Yusuf, thank you so much for joining. And Tyler, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Yusuf, let everybody know where they can be able to find your stuff.
So it's NYCFC Forever Podcast on all the platforms, YouTubeness, and on social is NYCFC Forever Pod. We just talking about shit, just New Yorkers just talking shit about soccer.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's listen, you guys are a vibe. So I love your guys' show. Guys, if you haven't checked it out, guys, check it out. I went ahead and I put it down there below. So make sure you give them a listen. And then Tyler, again, much appreciated for joining us. Let everybody know where they can be able to find your stuff too.
Yeah, so personally, it's just ATL Pilgrim everywhere. But the podcast website and all is Scarves and Spikes, scarvesandspikes.com. On Twitter, it's Scarves, the letter N, Spikes. Everywhere else, Instagram, all that, it is just Scarves and Spikes. So
awesome. Yeah, man, it was a pleasure, guys. And again, for those of you that haven't watched, and we actually just had Tommy on our Batter Heron show just about an hour ago, so they're pretty familiar with us. I went ahead and I put it down low. I put the word end Spikes. So if you guys want to find it on Twitter, it would be Scarves and the letter N Spikes.
So fun fact, the reason we had to go with that in the very beginning was because there was an old lady that had a knitting channel.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Does she still have that?
I don't think so. I think it was more or less like on its way out back then, but now it's just like it's just there. But the name was already taken, so we had to kind of switch it up a little bit.
I mean, have you checked if it's available? Because I would check that immediately.
No, honestly, we haven't.
That or send somebody to her house.
Snag it up. I know, right? But no, we need to go check it again. But yeah, that was a couple of years ago, and we're like, dude, this lady's like knitting. She's just knitting.
Yeah, that's
Scarves and Spikes.
Yeah, right. Well, fellas, thank you guys so much for joining us here on the Batter MLS podcast, and thank you so much. And of course, thank you so much over to Mark for joining us as well. He had to run, but it was much appreciated. And guys, thank you guys so much for listening. For those of you listening on audio, thank you so much for listening on audio. Give us like a 5 stars, comment, Danny, you suck, or something like that, because he's a piece of crap that he's not on the show tonight.
Tommy sucks too.
Yeah, and put hashtag Tommy sucks as well. I'll take that as well. And so far, look, the Yanks are looking good, 4-10 right now.
I'm so giddy right now.
Yeah, it's nice. Game 5.
Not fight another day. It's gonna be like Friday now, every single day.
Yeah. And guys, for those of you in the chat, you guys are the best part of the show. Thank you guys so much for interacting. Everybody's throwing out fun facts because I was just throwing out random facts in the Battered Heron show. I love the interaction.
At a point, I was like, "What is going on?" It was like,
they're flipping out. I love them. They're the best. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Come on, click. It's like $3.99. It costs you nothing. Yeah, toss the Instagram to the side real quick, press the thumb, and then you can bring back Instagram however you want. And again, thank you guys for hanging out with me, and thank you for hanging out with us. Until the next one, have a good one, mi gente.
Hey.